The real trick is making sure I get the right hardware in the right place at the right end of the boxes. Welcome back to the shop and part 4 of Cree's Magic Door. In this episode, I'm going to assemble the boxes. In other words, the casing or jambs and the door and the box for the bookcase itself. Now, some tools I'll be using during this assembly is these corner clamps that I bought years ago at the woodworking shows, and I'd buy them. Little package one year and another package the next year. I think I got about 12, 15 or 20 of these now. They're solid aluminum, bent and then machined square. They're very nicely made. I think you can get these through some of the usual suspects like Woodcraft or Rockler or whatever. These are going to be assembled with pocket holes. The pocket holes are going to be in the verticals, not on the horizontals. And since I can't chuck these verticals up in my pocket hole jig, one of the things I kept from my Craig kit was the single pocket hole jig that you can clamp onto small pieces, take on the road or whatever. And so I'll be doing probably 3 screws at each end of the verticals. And as I said in the intro, getting the hardware in the right place. This one with the articulating pin has to be at the top like that. And this one with the bearing surface for the rotating door has to be on the bottom like that. Not a huge challenge, but I've got to get it right because I don't have to go through making these again. All right, let's drill some pocket holes. Pocket holes are drilled. You didn't need to see me drilling all of them. How many times have you watched people drill pocket holes on YouTube? Really? So they're all ready to go. The sides are. Now I'm going to fasten the top and the bottom. This will get glued and screwed. The bookcase will initially just get screwed in place, and then I'll test the fit and make sure everything's correct. And then when I'm convinced everything's correct and I don't have to shave any wood off, then I'll glue and screw it together. A little tip with pocket holes, those who don't know, is when you're doing a butt joint. Well, I'm doing a butt joint here and here. So when you're doing a butt joint like this, you want the screw to go from the outside inward, not the inside outward. You can see what's going on here. You've got less wood over here to bite into. There's a chance of blowout if you put load on it. But if the screw goes in this way, it's biting into a lot more wood here, and it has less of a chance of failing. So that's what we're going to do. So let's set this up for the first assembly bits, and we'll get going with that. Here's a little bit of a better look at that mess. So there's the butt joint here, glued and screwed in 3 places with the corner clamps. I can take all this apart now because it'll hold, and then work on the next 3. And when I'm done with those, I will show you the finished product. Voila, the casing is done. The articulated pin is up here, out towards this edge. It should be. The lower hinge bearing is in place in that one. This is a bit wobbly, as you would expect, so I'm going to be careful with it, but I'm going to put some diagonal braces on it to keep it kind of stable as it's sitting before I take it off to up to the house where it's going to be installed. Interesting little foundy factoid here. So as I was going through my workbench for something else entirely, I'd forgotten I had these, and I found them. These are little corner clamps. They're really cheap, I think. I don't even know what I paid for them. I've had these probably for about 20 or 30 years. But they're little corner clamps. They're really, really effective. They're easier to deal with than that origami mess that you saw in the earlier part of this video when I was setting it up to put it together. I can put one on the top and one on the bottom and line everything up, then loosen it, pull out the piece of wood, put the glue in there, tighten it back up again, and drive the screws. maybe I should have an inventory list on a computer somewhere, what the hell I have, or paste it up on the wall. So the next step is, of course, to build the bookcase. That's a little more involved than this because it's got a center shelf and I got some sanding to do on it. It'll be more stable. It also has a back, which will lock everything in place. So let's get on with that. I'll show you any interesting stuff that goes along with that. I'll film it, but it's basically the same as this. Put glue and screw the corners together and rock and roll. Just to show you how this system makes it easier than the origami setup I had before. Corner clamp here, corner clamp here. These surfaces on the corner clamps here and here, here and here are flush and even with each other. So you just place the work pieces on here and they're already flush, surface, top surface to top surface. Then I move the clamps and adjust the tightness until I get this surface here completely aligned. Then the next step is I loosen these ones here. That allows me to open it up and apply the glue. I got to get the glue off my fingers now. Then I take the clamps, push them back together, like so. Clamp this one here, clamp this one here. Now it's all nice and tight the way it should be. It's not super tight because I want the screws to draw it in a little bit, draw it more. Once I have it like this, now it's ready to accept the pocket hole screws. Do this from backwards so you can see what's going on. I got the clutch set so they don't screw in too far. Dropped one on the floor, of course. We always drop these on the floor. And up here. Oops. I see a mistake. I'm going to make a change. There, that's better. That's good. Now we'll do the middle one, because the other one got screwed in the wrong place a little bit. There, that's nice and tight. That's nice and flush. This may or may not draw that piece out a little bit. It's not super critical, but oops. I'm having a whole good time here, aren't I? There we go. That's nice and flush still. All right, so that's it. Now I'll wait for this glue to dry, take the clamps off, and move on to the last corner over here. In the previous segment when I was showing the corner clamps, that was for the bookcase, not for the door. The door was already done, obviously, at that point, but that was for the bookcase. And it went together a lot quicker. So here it is. Bookcase is mounted in the frame, the hinges are aligned and set up, and the pin is in place. Now it's a little wonky because it doesn't have the back on it, it's not attached to the wall, so I have to move my arm up here to move it a little bit to give it some stability, but there we go. That's it. Opens just like that. Isn't that cool? Turn it this way. You see what's going on here? Opens just like that. Now the trim is the next finicky bit we got to do, and that'll probably be mostly at Cree's house. The trim on this side will be affixed to the casing in the wall, and the trim on this side will be fixed to the bookcase. And the reason being that on this side you'll see that the bookcase pulls away from where the trim will be, and of course this obviously, it comes out, the trim should come with it because it has to sit on here. The header will come down just to where it's just clearing the top of the bookcase here, and it's pretty tall to match the rest of it. So it's got some nice architectural details, and I'll build one of those for this. So I'm going to make some shelves, 3 and 3. That's going to be easy. Put the back on, and start working on the trim. So we'll end this video here, and until then, make great things out of wood.